I'm a technical sales rep here at Nimcor. We're in the manufacturing plant of Nimcor, where we'll be showing you some of the basic maintenance procedures that you can perform on your Nimcor Airshafts. Nimcor has been making shafts for over 30 years, and we believe they're the best on the market. Made of the highest quality materials and designed for low maintenance. Every once in a while, a customer will call to order a bladder for the first time for one of the very first shafts we've ever made. Most applications, though, are a little more demanding, and you'll find that occasional maintenance is required to keep your shafts operating at peak performance. Nimcor also makes composite shafts, air chucks, air mechanical chucks, bowed rolls, vertical center lifts, and crushed roll restorers. Right now, though, let's concentrate on maintenance of the Nimcor Airshaft. When you change the bladder or perform other maintenance on your Nimcor shaft, use 2 wooden horses or any other mounting setup for easy accessibility. If your shaft will not hold air, check the air valve first. Bubbles in the water will indicate that the valve is leaking and should be changed. Prior to dismantling the shaft, remove the air valve. The most common valve, the 18520, is installed and removed using a 5/8 and 1/2 inch socket wrench. When reinstalling an air valve, pipe sealant is recommended on the valve pipe threads. Loosen the set screws in the journal if there are any. These screws keep the valve stem from turning inside the journal. On the valve end journal, match mark the journal header to the body to facilitate reassembly. The valve end journal will be removed to expose the bladder. The taper pin or pins are located approximately 1/2 inch from the end of the body and secure the journal header to the body. Drive out the pin by hitting the small end. On later model shafts, an arrow will indicate the direction in which to drive the pin out. To loosen the journal, forcibly strike around the shaft body, approximately 2 inches from the end face, with a heavy brass hammer. The vibration set up by the hammer blows will break the taper fit between the body and the journal header, leaving approximately 1/8 inch of the header exposed. On aluminum-bodied shafts, a flat piece of metal should be used to protect the body. If unable to dislodge the journal, please call Nimcor for further assistance. Once the journal is loose, and before withdrawing it from the shaft, the buttons must be propped up to prevent them from falling inside the shaft when removing the bladder. For large button-type shafts, retrieve each button flange with a 1032 button puller and lock it in place with a hold-up spring, inserted in the notches on the side of each button. On lug-type Nimcor shafts, lock each lug in place with a hold-up block and screw. Tightening each screw with an Allen wrench or air gun will raise the lugs off the bladder. Buttons on Nimcor small button type shafts are locked in place using an 832 button puller and a retaining bushing and cap screw for each button flange. Finish by tightening each screw. On leaf type Nimcor Airshafts, the buttons are attached to the leaves. Therefore, elevating the leaves will raise the buttons from the bladder and casing. On shafts over 2 inches in diameter, leaf jacking screw holes are located along the length of each leaf. Screwing a 1/4 20 cap screw into each hole will raise the leaves and the buttons. On 2 inches and smaller diameter leaf type shafts, the leaves must be removed and the shaft repaired as a small button type. Now that the hold-up devices are in place, remove the bladder and casing. Before inserting the new bladder and casing into the shaft, remove the first button or two and inspect the springs. If you see springs broken, or even worn, it is best to replace all of the springs. Broken springs can act like razor blades and continually cut the bladder if not changed. If springs are to be replaced, unlock one row of buttons at a time and remove them from the body. Repeat for each row until all the buttons and springs are removed. Use a strip of wood longer than the shaft body to reinstall the buttons with new springs. When installing new buttons or springs, make sure to use the same number of springs per button as was taken out of the shaft. On shafts where the buttons are not rubber-backed, lay the wood next to the row of holes and place each button on the strip next to where it will be located. When a row is complete, insert the strip into the body and lock the buttons in place. Where the buttons are inserted individually on a long shaft, it is easier to remove both journals and install the buttons from each end. A small piece of double-sided tape may be used to keep the buttons in place. On shafts with straight or staggered rows of buttons, the individual flanges may be bonded together on rubber backing. Place each row of buttons on a strip of wood and install. The majority of Nimcor shafts require a protective casing over the bladder. The old one may be in good condition, or it may be a good